Welcome, one and everyone, to an efficiency build of Finch Farm. This has been a long time coming, and this particular settlement has given me more problems than any other settlement, from Bethesda bugs to just... Well, let's just get into it. So, the nice thing about this settlement is it is really unique. It's underneath this overpass, and you actually can get up on top of the overpass to build. Now, I've seen videos of other builds where people will actually build this sprawling, elaborate structure on top of the overpass, but I chose not to do that. I chose to build everything beneath it because I figured if I was a settler and if I wanted ground to grow my crops, and if I wanted to feel like I wasn't going to plummet to my death from sleepwalking at night, I probably wouldn't want to spend all my time at the top of an overpass. I would like to be able to walk to the beach easily, and I suppose I could have created some sort of ladder structure, but anyway, the way I decided to work this is the top of the overpass is solely for defense and power. I have a wind farm up there, and I'll show that to you now. So I built a ladder to get up there to build it, and I have sadly deleted it, so I'm going to use this jetpack thing. There we go. Oh, and I don't need this anymore. Okay, so I originally had just these windmills powering my settlement, and I wanted it to look dramatic, and so I went as tall as I could. I built all of these supports, just supports on top of supports, and I had to install a snapping mod in order to stack these on top of them, of each other. And then I built this scaffolding so that I could crawl up there. And then I just put them in a line. Not efficient. No, this is not efficient. And I realize that I'm falsely advertising with an efficiency build right now. Pardon me. And I'm also trying to get over a sickness, so pardon me. But yeah, these windmills are not efficient. They took a lot of steel and wood, and true, they did not consume oil or circuitry or anything crazy like that. But building, over 10 of these things was not efficient, not to mention the scaffolding that was necessary. So I went a little dramatic here, and I apologize. But I wanted to build something that I could put on top of this thing that seemed functional. And I figure, well, if you've got this tall overpass, it's probably got wind. It's probably a very windy situation, and it would probably be a great place to put some wind turbines. Upon building my settlement, I regret this decision. I wish I would have instead used the nuclear plant that came with Wasteland Workshop. But then again, I did start this build before Wasteland Workshop came out. One nuclear plant would have taken up so little room, and it just would have been done and over with. And I could have stacked it up here and been nice and safe and out of the way. But instead, I built this elaborate structure, built all my wind turbines, and then discovered that I really needed to get a lot of defenses. This particular settlement gets attacked from 3 different locations, and it happens to be right next to the Saugus Ironworks right over there, and some sort of gunner facility right over there. I forget what it's called. I suppose I could look at my map. Hub City Auto Wreckers. So not only does this place get attacked quite regularly by super mutants, very strong super mutants, but it's right next to both of these places that my settlers aggro all the time, and I don't understand it. But look, my settlers are kind of just wandering out there. This is far outside the bounds of my settlement. But look, there's Mr. Finch himself, and there's another one. They just wander out there, and I don't know why. But they end up aggroing both the gunner facility and the Saugus Ironworks. So not only do they get attacked from 3 different locations, but they pull both of these at the same time. I'm in the middle of filming a different experiment on shops, trying to determine how much money a shop can generate and what the conditions are. And while I'm doing the experiment, I'm working on my Finch farm build, and I had to pause in the middle of that experiment because my settlement got attacked by both the Saugus Ironworks and this Hub City Auto Wreckers, while I also got attacked by super mutants from 3 different locations. So it was an absolute quagmire. I wish I had gotten it on film. I'm sorry I didn't. But that's why I have all of the defense that I do. Now take a look at my defense. 236. It's way overkill, but I felt it was necessary just because this place constantly gets under attack. And I have these positioned where they are for a very specific reason. These face exactly the directions where spawn points are for enemies, and I made sure to leave a line of sight open. You see that corner there of the settlement that ends at the green edge? Just outside of there is one spawn point, and I've got 2 missile turrets and 2 laser turrets that are pointing that direction. And I've removed everything. There's no farm that can get in the way. I mean, the edge of the farm is kind of close, but by the time the enemies spawn, these guys automatically see them, and they won't even get close to the farm by the time they're completely destroyed. And then there's another spawn location right there where about that stick is. And these guys are off to the side a little bit, and I'm hoping that they'll see it fairly easily. Well, yeah, thank God I had my free fall legs on. Anyway, so there's that, and let me actually turn something on here. So I'm going to hop up here. Let me turn on my spawn points so that you can see those. My voice sounds strange because my throat is sore and I've been coughing up all sorts of nastiness. Alright, so here's the spawn points. Here's the first one. Over here, where I've built this tower. Okay, so they spawn over here in this corner. See, there's probably guns lying around. You can usually tell because of the guns lying around. Yeah, what's that? That's a security button. So I've got these guys that are doing long range and area of effect damage that should be able to see this section right here as soon as they spawn. But just in case they don't, if for some reason the shadow of the overpass is covering them or the line of sight is just awkward, I have this turret here that just has some basic ballistic and 1 shotgun turret, which I had already paid for in a previous build of this place. And then I've got a guard tower that's manned. And then over here, here's the other one. It's super close to the settlement. And originally, the farm stretched way out to here and way out to here. I reduced the fence size of this farm dramatically. Because this is 72 carrots right here. As I say in all of my builds, I need 72 carrots to get just the right amount of food that I need to support my population of 36 settlers, and this farm was way too large, so I remade it. And as you can see, it's really jerry-rigged. It's not square. Look at this. Look at this in particular. I can't do symmetrical or square, so I don't want to hear it. Don't talk to me. But hey, it's working, and it's a lot smaller than it was before, and it's out of line of sight of these guys. So these guys can shoot area of effect damage down here to their heart's content and just tear up the super mutants. And in addition, I've got this other turret here, which you can see I placed way back here underneath the overpass. So it's out of the line of sight of these missile turrets, so that they have a clear shot to do ballistic damage and a spotlight, and as well as a guard tower. The final point of attack is over here, and I placed one of the houses before I knew that this was a spawn point. Otherwise, I probably would have put my turrets right here and maybe placed the house down there closer to the water or something, but I didn't want to move it after having placed it. So this is the third and final spawn point for Finch Farm, and yeah, you can see all of the guns just littering. Sorry for the frame rate there for a second, but you can see all of the guns littering the ground from previous attacks. And I've got a fairly powerful turret system set up here with 2 missile launchers, laser turret, and then just a few ballistic guys, and then, of course, a guard tower. So 1 guard tower for each spawn point, because this settlement just is constantly getting attacked for me. Okay, and then, so, major defenses for this one. I wanted to make sure that I got the defenses done first, or that I made them the priority, and then I went on to the rest of it. So I've got 2 houses here. in addition to the house that came with it. This one house, it's a small shack, very simple. This small shack, also very simple. Whoops. I have some remnant photo paintings lodged in the walls from an experiment I did a long time ago that ended up being untrue about decorations. I once heard that placing decorations on the walls can increase your settlement happiness, and that's not true. And then finally, this is the shack that came with Finch Farm, and I have most of my guys in here. And this is the only one I put any sort of effort into decorating, mainly because this particular shack came with all of these nice little thin metal signs on the walls, but for some reason, I don't know why, they've been falling down. And so I scrapped all the ones that fell down because they're yellow and you can't actually pick them up and move them around once they fall. And then I added a flag, a pinup, a calendar, I think it's a calendar or something, a few stuffed heads, and a Vault-Tec calendar. Just made it a little livable. An interesting thing about this particular settlement is there was a bunch of trash and junk spread out all around this deck, and I scrapped it, but what ended up happening is I scrapped all that junk, and it made this deck here look like it was floating. So I had to actually put these wooden supports underneath using a mod and using console commands to kind of manually push it under there. Otherwise, it would have looked like half of the shack was floating. So that's the housing. This settlement has 2 marketplaces. Here's the first one. It's simple. It's got four shops and a bar, and a nice little eating area with lots of food already set out. Coffee, meat, a bowl of squirrel bits, and some nougat cherry. And then I decided to place a fire pit right on top of this trash pile. This is so ugly. It's a huge trash pile in the middle of the settlement, and you can't scrap it, you can't delete it. Using console commands, you can't do anything with it, so I figured, heck, I'm going to go with it. Of course, if there's one place where everybody wants to sit and congregate and roast marshmallows and chat about their day, well, it's going to be in the middle of the filthy, stinking trash pit. So we've got a nice little kumbaya circle going on here with a fire. I had to use a mod to install that fire. I could have used one of the fires that came with Wasteland Workshop, but I did this before Wasteland Workshop came out. And then I've got another pit over here. It's just a simple cooking station with a bunch of chairs. And here's the second marketplace. It's got room for 5 different stalls and a bar sitting right here. So I like this a lot because there's a lot of room. People can just walk around in here. It's not too crowded. I suppose I could put a table down in here, but that might clutter things up a little bit. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet. I'm going to be getting a dog here with one of my traps, and I've got a doghouse ready just in case. I don't have the dog yet. And here are my scrap stations. Now, anytime you set out to create a scavenging station, you have to decide, well, okay, do I want just a section of the map dedicated to producing scrap, or do I want to work each of these scavenging stations into the style and beauty of my build? And for this particular settlement, I wanted it to generate a lot of scrap because I've got a lot of room here, and so I just decided to build this elevated platform and build a ton of scavenging stations and assign 10 or so of my settlers to it. So this settlement is constantly producing scrap, and I'm pretty pleased with the amount that it's generating. I have no idea why these guys are just hanging out over here. I mean, yes, you won your battle, you killed your enemies, but there's work to be done, guys. Buddy, Abraham, it's your farm. What are you doing? I don't know. And then my Brahmin, for some reason, have been wandering over here. What is wrong with this guy? Dude, calm down, buddy. That's a lot of Brahmin. Okay. So I've got my feeding troughs over here at the far extremes of the settlement because I want the Brahmin as far away from me as possible. And I use the opportunity to create some water purification systems. Since it's right here on the water, no sense in littering the place with pumps. And then it's got this nice beach, and I felt like I didn't want to defile it or anything, so I left the beach. Actually, I don't think you can go all the way down there and scrap stuff. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is basically it. That is my Finch farm. Let me show you the running stats. 36 water, 36 food, 36 beds, and this particular settlement already has 35 people, so I'm one person away. And let me show you the assignments so far. Okay, so I've got 35 total settlers, 5 of which are unassigned, and those 5 are purchasing from my shops. And then the rest are all assigned to food. I only have 6 dedicated to food, because you only need 6 settlers to farm 36 food. And because each settler can farm for 6 food. And the rest of them are all either working on shops, manning shops, in which case it says working, or they're scavenging, or they're unassigned. Or they're guarding. I do have 3 guards at the settlement, so that's one other thing. Alright, as the sun sets, I thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more efficiency builds, settlement builds for Fallout 4.